Welcome to East 7 Acres. This is a story of our family moving from suburban life to the country to build our shipping container home and homestead. This is our journey to East 7 Acres.
This will make you feel a little more on my level.
Alright, I have our waters. Alright, so first of all, I don't know how I did that. Okay. Alright, so let's start from, go ahead and start from the beginning, I guess. Hi guys, I'm Amanda.
I'm James.
Now that we've established our names.
All right, so we have some questions that have been asked of us about our build and our journey.
We came up on the anniversary of setting the containers, and then today is actually the anniversary of setting our first truss. So getting the roof put on, and then here in a couple of days is actually the 2-year anniversary of when we purchased the land. So just kind of as a reflection of the last 2 years, we just wanted to answer some questions that we've received, and then just kind of reflect on some things and share them with you guys. This first question is really easy for me to answer, but what is something that moving out here on the land, because we've been out here, the end of August will be a year, so almost a year. What is something you didn't expect to deal with or to come upon, address, whatever, that we've had to do since we moved to the land, living in the camper, building the house, all that?
Well, for one thing, I know you can probably see behind us, but there's a lot of overgrowth. Just, we came out of a subdivision, so we had a small lot. I could mow that thing, weed eat it, trim it, do everything I needed to do in like an hour and 15 minutes. And now that we have 7.5 acres,
The dog is really close to getting in the pond, so we're both kind of watching him because the pond needs some attention right now. Go ahead.
But things just grow, and this isn't controlled growth. It's not anything we've planted. This is native to this area. We have areas that are all dirt, and when it rains it's muddier than heck, and so we didn't have to deal with that type of stuff. And I was thinking that some of the areas that we disturbed and maybe turned early would have some sort of growth coming back.
Decent growth.
Yes, but because of the type of material, we have a lot of clay out here. Things just don't grow quickly. There. And once they get going and they're established, they'll stay. It's all really weeds and weed grasses and stuff like that. So
I think for me, I think you're answering it that way because we're sitting out here and you're looking at it, and maybe, I mean, I've had a little bit longer to reflect, but for me, it's camper living 1000%. It's things that I never even spent the night in a camper until we moved into one full time. So the plumbing, the having to go outside and physically pull the drain so that the waste that you can see will go down the little tube and into the septic.
I think we should clarify how you can see it.
It's a tube.
Well, typically they're black tubes, but this one, we have a clean out on it also that I've left that is clear so you can see that material. And then our PVC, our clean out, the piece that goes in there is not your typical bold white piece of PVC. It's kind of, you can tell that fluid is flowing through it and such. So.
And then our dog is literally right here. We're sitting out by the pond, and he is trying to get a drink.
He is dumber than a box of rocks.
But he's sinking into the mud of the pond because he really is not the smartest. And then air, whether it be hot or cold, I did not ever expect that we would have it like a typical home and you would be hot or cold, or I mean, you would have the regulation like you do in a central heat and air house. But I also did not expect the inability to control the temperature the way we have. We've done a great job, but there have definitely been some super, super cold and super, super hot. And these last few days have been super, super hot, to where with the campers AC running nonstop and several fans, it's still 89 degrees in there. I went in there and checked before we came out. It was still 89 degrees. Like, that's a typical daily thing.
Yeah, well, in our previous living experiences, in our previous life of living in a house, in a neighborhood, we, these extreme temperature changes, or the drastic immediately going hot, is not new to us. It seems like it might be it got hot real fast, but that's happened before. But you always, in our house, our thermostat was set at 72. It was 72 in there year round. And so our house didn't get cold, and the heater have to run nonstop to try to keep it to 60 degrees.
Right.
And in the extreme heat, this camper that we have just has the one AC unit on it.
We are very thankful for our camper.
Oh, it's a roof over our head.
And the ability to use it. But after a year of living in it, and I want to say positive things about the camper. I'm glad to have a roof over our head, a bed to sleep in, all of those things. But when we moved in, we were going to be there until Christmas. So we were going to spend through December, and we are into July.
Yeah, we were only going to spend 4 months, and that was what we thought. I didn't plan it very good, I guess, my realistic schedule or whatever. And here we are in July of the following year.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So during this process, whether it be purchasing the land, moving onto the land, building the house, transitioning from city life to country life, what do you feel is the biggest win or the most positive outcome from it?
Away from people. And it's quiet. And I'm a people person. I love to be around people. I love to go out and do things. I can talk to anybody. But we're surrounded by trees, and I love to look out the window and see only trees. I know there are other people around us, but I can't see them.
Right.
And whenever I'm just looking through trees, it's like there is not another human being around. It's our own little world.
It is very peaceful, very quiet. I know you can hear the dogs, but I mean, we hear nature.
Yes.
Every once in a while, a gunshot, which is normal out here, but we hear nature.
Sometimes that's nature.
Yeah, sometimes that's nature. Biggest win, I think for me that I would answer that on a personal growth. That I personally have seen a lot of personal growth out here. Just learning things that I never thought I would have to learn, from moving into the camper and building the house. Or before we moved in, we pretty much sold everything. Like, we went from over 3,000 square foot home, 20 plus years of junk and stuff, and we pretty much sold everything off. What I say all this to say, for myself, the personal growth is the minimalization of things. Realizing I don't have to have those things. And when you only have a few pair of clothing items to choose from, getting ready is a lot easier. What is the biggest negative?
The
biggest negative.
The biggest negative is building it solo. Mm-hmm. And when I say solo, meaning just you and I, it's not just only been me. But I want to go back for a minute to the biggest positive. Okay. Is the things that you have learned to do that affect my world. So with helping me, you've learned how to run some equipment. You've learned how to run some power tools. You may have to edit this, but you can measure and cut a piece of wood to a gnat's ass. That's how precise you are with that. And that's not anything you would you ever knew how to do, you never had any interest in doing, nor would you ever have helped me do it. And
I did when we built the studio.
well, but I wasn't on a. It wasn't on a regular basis, and
Right.
you have taken this serious to really learn, almost hone a craft, so to speak. We'll say that. So the negative though is the time, and not anticipating being in the RV as long as we were. I thought we might be done faster. This build has exposed maybe some fears,
Yeah.
more so, that I knew I had, but maybe I didn't know how bad it was, and so it has affected my speed in doing some things. And then never doing this before. So when you never do it before and you're making your lifetime home and you've really only got one shot to do it,
Yeah.
and you make a mistake and they can be costly, you know, and so that's the negative to that, I would think.
Okay. Why have we chose to use what some people would consider subpar material? We don't, because we check everything and we don't use it if it's subpar. But what?
I'm listening to your question.
Okay. For you, what was the or is the intrigue of using rehabbed materials?
I don't know if I call it intrigue. It's not necessarily something I'm interested in, but it is knowing I'm confident that what we're buying is fine.
Right.
You know, the wood, we're looking at it. If we get piles of wood and if some of it is warped, we don't use it, or we find some other way to use it.
Chicken coop.
Yeah, building the chicken coop. Just because it's got some nails in it doesn't mean it's bad. You can pull those nails out. It's kind of like no one wants to buy used clothing, but a lot of people do and never say anything about it.
I think nowadays,
And that's
We're
with
getting-
material, with wood.
I think nowadays though, as a society, we're getting better about that. But for me, I'm the one that's intrigued by reusing things. I'm not necessarily a huge, I mean, I hate to say tree hugger, but that's what in our day, they were tree huggers. But why leave things around just to sit in a landfill if it still has a purpose? And I'm not one to say butter jars or anything, or butter tubs. I've never really done that. Might have to start doing that now, but
Well, but there's a reason why people have came up with paint, not just to paint something new, but to repaint something. People repaint their walls. They don't like that color, they change it. So they're changing that aspect of it. It's the exact same wall, they just change it. It's the same floor, you just put tile or carpet on it. You change that, you update it, upgrade it. So we are upgrading, upcycling its original purpose.
right,
You know,
Exactly.
it may have been to hold up a wall for that person,
right,
and now we're using it to hold up a wall for us. It's still doing its intended purpose,
right,
but we're just swapping the location. If you can buy a brand new table, dining room table and chairs, and it's going to cost you $1,200, or you can find one that you pick up for $100 and you just kind of clean it up, spend a little bit of quality time with it, and you've got $200 into it, so you've got $300 worth of something, but yet you see that same thing in some of these refurbished stores or whatever, and they want $1,500 for it. Well, you just took something and gave it more value by just cleaning it up and renewing it. So
Exactly.
everything has a value to it. It's just what do you end up making it look like?
right. And I know I'm unique in that when the house is done, I personally am going to find pride in being able to walk through the house and say, that used to be that, and we gave it new life. And so, I don't know, to me, I guess it's just something that I'm looking forward to, is being able to see how a piece of wood, let's say, that was on a barn that we demoed and a horse trough was attached to it, and now that same piece of wood is, in our laundry room and it's got hooks on it that's now holding coats. To me, those little things are just, they're intriguing.
Well, and some people have seen some things we've done of like, I never thought
Right.
that could be used for that, and that's really cool. And you can't buy that in the stores.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to stay up to date on our journey at E7 Acres.